Hello and welcome to the Goons. We're back in with you guys for another show after Arsenal have drawn. As you can tell from my facial expressions, not the best results. 1-1 at Benfica in the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. Not really at Benfica, but apparently we were playing away from home and Benfica were at home. We got an away goal, which is positive, but we missed a hell of a lot of chances, and a certain someone had a very, very off day in the striking role. We're going to get through all of your comments in the chat box as well as you join me for the next half an hour or so to talk about the game, and let's crack on with the show. Now, I had a chat, I don't know if you guys saw this earlier on today, with Stefan Schwartz, of course, former Arsenal and Benfica midfielder, and he said 1-1. He predicted 1-1, and he was spot on with his score prediction. You can still go back and watch that chat with Stefan. It's still relevant because we've still got to play Benfica across the second leg. But I was disappointed. I'm in a different room. Yes, I am. This is the watch-along room that I do with you, so I can get the Ethernet cable. It also means that my camera is nice and clear because I've got wired internet downstairs. So I won't usually be down here. It's just logistically better for me to be here at the moment downstairs. I found it really hard to enjoy the game. I found it very difficult to get on board with the lineup selection, actually, as well. I don't know what your thoughts were. Give me your thoughts in the chat box about the lineup. I really was a little bit disappointed that some players weren't given opportunities, like Pepe and Martinelli, etc., who I thought had been rested ahead of this game. And yeah, really kind of was a little bit underwhelmed by the fact that he picked the exact same lineup, especially considering we got Man City on Sunday, and I thought this might be our Prem team, and I thought we might make a few more changes. Let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box. Hello, Ben. Good to have you in the chat, mate. Tiger Martin says, "Please don't tell me you and Hugh are getting a divorce. You were bickering like an old couple." No, of course not. Me and Hugh were just going back and forth. A few debates. It was very good. I like the debate. It's always good. We agree with each other too much at times. I prefer when we disagree. It's good discussion. Ed Welch says, Pepe and Martinelli should have started. Thought Odegaard was man of the match today. Tony W says, Louise was acting like he was in training. He slowed it down and never played the ball forwards, just in sideways to Gabriel. I did notice that, and that's a good bit of analysis, actually, because against Leeds, he was very proactive. It was a nervous performance, and that worries me because this competition is key. This competition is really important this season for Arsenal moving forwards, trying to get that Champions League qualification spot through winning it. And if we are going to put on these nervy displays because we're really worried, and it's knockout, like in the league, you can understand they're a little bit more free-flowing, could be a little bit more adventurous and risky. But if you lose in these games, you're gone, you're out. And I get that. But Arsenal must not have this kind of nervy feeling about their game. Is that set up by the manager? Is that set up by the team? Is that just the mentality of the side? Benfica are usually... they're really usually kind of a good side, but they are not in the best of form at the moment. And I wouldn't say that this is a great result to draw 1-1 against this Benfica team. And if Arsenal end up going out next week because of away goals or just because of a bad performance, the big chances that were missed in this game just really need to be brought to light. And Aubameyang had an amazing game against Leeds, and that needs to be brought into context. But today he was off. And I don't know what it was about him specifically. Is it tiredness? Is it mental fragility? Let me know what your thoughts are about that in the chat box. Greg says, generally had their number, certainly were more aggressive than they were. It just wasn't Aubameyang's day today. Dilly says, Benfica had us in their pockets. We missed way too many chances. And those don't come back. Tiger Martin says, I knew Benfica were in bad form, but they were genuinely dreadful on the ball and created nothing. Nuni says, Luis gets the ball start. Louise, is that what you mean? Louise? Colonel of Truth says, tattoo weariness for Aubameyang. If you've seen the news about Aubameyang's alleged behind the lockdown tattoo. Is that the reason why? Moguez says Arteta's choices were questionable today. Starting the 11 was okay, but Aubameyang should have been subbed earlier, and it's Bellerin he should have taken off, not Cedric. I agree with you. I don't know why Bellerin stayed on the pitch. I am losing faith in trying to defend. Really trying to defend Bellerin at times. He's almost undefendable at this stage. I'm hoping that he took Cedric off because he's starting against Man City. We will wait and see if that is the case. I thought Tierney was pretty poor, actually, when he came on as well. He didn't have the best of games, so who knows in that sense. Glenn Cook says the players always look different when they are tired. Poor decisions, slow passing, and never punished their high line whatsoever. David Blaschick asks, do you think it was a pen? Yes, I do think it was a pen. Emil Smith-Rowe's arm was in an unnatural position. Yes, you might say he was putting it up to try and defend his face, but it's still in an unnatural position and it's away from the silhouette, so it's going to be given. Or especially in Europe, it's going to be given. So I have no issues with the penalty, even though Hugh did. I have no issues with it whatsoever. Ed Welch says he can't cross a ball when he gets sucked into poor positions, which leaves us vulnerable at the back. We desperately need a right back. Josh Arjashire sums this up just by saying, it's two poor teams. Casper Fissan says it bounds from the chest. It doesn't matter because your arm's in an unnatural position. And if it comes off your chest, hits your arm, and your arm's in an unnatural place, and you've blocked the ball from going into a possible advantageous position for the team, it's a penalty. It's just how it works. Ian Matey says Xhaka was poor today, so slow. Players were making runs, but Xhaka was always receiving the ball facing the goalkeeper. I actually agree with you. I didn't think that Xhaka had his best game, and Xhaka's been quite good for us recently, and so has Sabas, but I thought they were both quite slow on the ball. Sabas was a lot more proactive of his passing, especially in the first half, and I think that he possibly, along with Erdegaard, was our most progressive player during the game. Saka had a good first half as well, but one thing that dominated the game that we haven't talked about is the amount of offsides in this game were unbelievably bad. There were so many offsides, so many that you can't blame it on just being kind of a coincidence. There was so many. A lack of synergy, chemistry between the players, they're not on the right wavelength in terms of time of the passing and the runs. Something was off tonight. And the fact that we didn't lose the game is more down to the fact that Benfica were also very poor, which gives me hope for next Thursday, of course. But if Arsenal don't buck their ideas up, there are players in that Benfica side that can come in and do us damage, even with their poor form. We need to be thinking about what we're doing. If we play the same lineup again at the weekend, I'd be very surprised. I think there are players that deserve chances, and they're just not being given chances. It's really difficult not to put a lot of the blame on Arteta today. I think Arteta deserves a fair amount of blame. So I think we set the team up wrong for this game, personally. And he did it completely wrong in that way with the selection, with how we played. But some of the players, especially the likes of Luis, Xhaka, Aubameyang, had poor performances in general. Emil Smith-Rowe wasn't too bright either. And Erdegaard and Sabas were really our only creative sparks that were available to us. Daniel Roberts says, I think their goal was a blessing. It woke us up and we got the away goal. Obviously, finishing this game winning or drawing 1-1 is better than drawing 0-0 for the away goal. But it's a shame that we need that goal to wake us up in this game. Mr. Crispo says, on a more positive note, Erdegaard is quite the player. Exactly. He was spot on. He was very annoyed to be taken off, which I like. I like seeing players annoyed to be taken off. It shows tenacity and determination and fight, and you want to see that from the guys. Captain says, some problem we have had all season when we will have the ball is that we can't create, and our goal was a counter-attack. We got lucky, in my opinion. Peter Murutu says, Tom, no, we just missed our chances. We did miss our chances, but I still didn't think we played the best game. And I don't think the selection was right. And this is coming from someone that is a full-on backer of Arteta, 99% of the time. Full-on backer of him. So I think there were elements that you could point fingers. O'Malley says, Xhaka is clearly tired. And again, that comes down to team selection, not rotating enough. And we played a lot of games recently, and it's a shame that we didn't make more changes, I think, for this game. Danette says, Pierre looks tired. What is he going to be like when he's 35? It's one game. I'm not going to overanalyze this and say that, yeah, like, I'm not going to overanalyze and say that, oh, now we have to think about Aubameyang's long-term future. Plus, we might not even have him when he's 35. I think his contract runs out when he turns 33-ish. So, no. Not for me. David Keith says, Tom, I hate to say it, mate, but Aubameyang, if he could have scored at least one of the 3 blatant chances, we might be thinking differently. David Keith, what have you described there? You've described football. Football can be very different if things change. Had what happened against Wolves not happened, we would have been 6th in the league. It's just how things are. Football is a game of hypotheticals. It's a game of hindsight. And it's a game of, if you don't take your chances, you regret them. And you might be thinking differently, yes. But the reality is that we didn't take those chances, and therefore the game didn't go the way we wanted it to. And so you analyze it in a completely different way. Peter Golding says, can we just forfeit the Man City game and rest the players? That's not the mentality, Peter. We need to be going into that game with as much confidence as possible. Hopefully the fact that we've gone unbeaten in the last 2 games will give us that. The win against Leeds gave us a bit of confidence. But yeah, it was uninspiring, to say the least, today. Lewis Kiriakou says 1-1 is not a bad result. Disappointing, but I actually like seeing El Neni and Willian coming on. Hear me out. Xhaka plays a stupid ball at 45 mins, and those at 88 mins tell everybody to keep it at 1-1. Those subs tell everyone to keep it at 1-1. Yeah, he could lose the ball, and he did lose the ball nearly, Xhaka, really towards the end of the game. I mean, it was about game management towards the end and just coming away with the game kind of still easily winnable with the away goal is definitely important, but we really can't afford to concede when we play at home in the next leg. Hilmi says Xhaka thinks he is undroppable. Poor performance from him. We should try Ceballos and Partey in the next match. It's if Partey is available here, mate. Like, I'm sure that is an option, but Partey's just not really been available for us. Omar says Albert is back. People said after the Leeds game. That's what I was being told, because apparently I have a gender against him. Laughable, really. Again, football is a game of results, and things change very quickly, Omar. And I'm sure that in the other way around, if we flip the scenario, things have been very different when Arsenal have won and lost, for some of the opinions you put out too. Colonel of Truth says, also worth pointing out that Leno didn't score any of Aubameyang's chances. Football fact. Yeah, what's that about? Why is Leno not scoring? Moog says, we are exhausting Xhaka. We don't have a player who can play in that position with the caliber of player of Xhaka that we have. And you're right. Like, Xhaka behind Partey is our best centre midfielder. And that is a worrying fact. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. And we need to upgrade on that position as soon as feasibly possible. Dominic Harry says, no, Arteta played to win. We created chances and Aubameyang just didn't play well today. I agree with you. I think he played to win, but at the end of the game, it was about game management. Like, towards the end of it, you take the 1-1, you move on. When it gets to the last 10 minutes, you don't want to be playing stupidly and conceding. Getting another away goal would have been great, but not conceding and going into that next game is what is really important, obviously. Tony says Bellerin was poor, but having a left-footed centre-back, keeping the ball being played to the left wing, especially in the second half. Yeah, we needed that. We need a left-footed left-back, and that is Kieran Tierney to come back. And now he is back, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can see that. Jashar says Partey absence is a big problem. You're spot on, but it didn't look too much of a problem against Leeds when we were 4-0 up, really. Porky Pork says, I know Partey wasn't available, but Xhaka seems to be covering Danny's running around the pitch today, whereas when Partey is on, Xhaka knows where he is and what to expect. Danny is a wild card, and you're spot on, he is a wild card, and Xhaka will have to cover that and think about where he is, because he doesn't have a centre midfield partner as good as Partey when he's not on the pitch. That's just a fact. Peter Renner says, trouble is, Tom, we don't have the squad to make rotations. I disagree. I think we do have the squad to make rotations. You look at the bench today and the players that were there. We could change both our centre-backs for Holding and Marie. We could change the whole of the front line, Martinelli, Pepe. We have options. We really can change things if we want to. El Neni could play instead. I don't want him to. But there are options. We do have the squad to rotate, in my opinion. I think there are some options that we could have chose to change. Sarab says, Aubameyang just tweeted he should have scored 2 goals. Did he now? Let's have a look at Aubameyang's Twitter. As he tweeted, We deserve better, and I should score a couple of goals today, but still one game to go. We keep going. Well done, Bukayo Saka, of course, who did score once again. £100 million. Bukayo Saka. Brian Robles says we are an inconsistent team that has inconsistent performances. Same 11 as the match from Leeds, and we looked a bit off. I thought we looked completely different to the Leeds game. It's what we are. Okay result going to the second leg. Dilly says facts regarding Big Celt, saying there was about £100 million worth of talent on the bench, highlighting the fact that there is definitely the opportunity for us to rotate. JD says, can't wait for us to sign Basuma and a proper right back who can cross and defend. Then finally we can get rid of Xhaka and Bellerin. Suraj says, should we permanently sign Sabas for reported 22 million fee? Only if we sign the players that we need to first. If I see us signing Ceballos and we don't go out and bring in another centre midfielder, I will say that is a recruitment failure. Absolutely a recruitment failure. But if you bring in a Basuma, if you bring in an upgraded right back, if you move on Lacazette and bring in a striker, if you bring in a backup left back, then go out and sign Ceballos for 22 million, sure, because you can sell El Neni, you can sell Xhaka, but you can't go out and look for that £22 million signing before bringing in other players in other positions first. That's what's really important. Cedric put that cross with his left weaker foot, says Mokes. Yes, 100% respect for that, because he did struggle a bit with his deliveries today. Ajit says, Tom, do you think Aubameyang will start in the return leg? Laka was rested. I don't know what's going on. Preview is going to be fun on Saturday, because I have no idea how we're going to be setting up. Really don't know how we're going to be setting up in these games. Dilly says the Leeds game was completely different. Benfica had 3 centre-backs and Weigl, who's been playing centre-back as late for them. Leeds had Ayling at full-back, at centre-back versus us. Aubameyang had a field day. Exactly. Like, they were more defensive, and I expected them to set up more defensively because they haven't had the best of seasons, and they played very defensively. And their structure was actually, in their shape, as I said on the watch along with you, was very good. So I personally think it's something that we can look to break down, but with the same lineup, they were tired. It was a really tired performance today, in my view. It's not only the fact that they have a different team and they played differently to Leeds, but we also looked tired. I thought we did. Overall, we looked a really tired side. Hilmi says, did Benfica play well at the back? The offside trap was always spot on. Yeah, as I just said, I thought they were very good, organised defensively. Fubar Gunner says, I'm disappointed by the low amount of shots. I think that, again, is a big kind of credit towards Benfica rather than our lack of creativity. Kaleidoscope Sparks says we have rotation options, but not for the midfield, which is crucial. No replacement for Xhaka in key games. Dave Lennon says you can see Arteta playing Laka to hold the ball up more against Manchester City than Aubameyang would. I'd be surprised to see Aubameyang start maybe in the next one, especially as a striker. I think Lacazette suits that game more, but I thought Lacazette might suit this game, and we didn't go for him. So what do I know? Big Celt says they played such a high line. Playing Emile Smith-Rowe, who's tired and lacks pace, was a mistake. JD says if we sign a striker now, then Martinelli won't get enough chances. Aubameyang starts literally every game. Arteta only brings on Gabby in the 75th minute. I don't think that we need to really prioritise Martinelli as a striker at the moment. He's still very young, really young, and you can't lack ruthlessness in the market either. I also don't look at Martinelli as a long-term Arsenal player. I feel like, and that's not a reflection of him. It's a reflection of the situation of the club. And I see that if he is a success at Arsenal, he is one of those players that would eventually move on from Arsenal because, of course, coming in from elsewhere, he wasn't brought through the academy. And if he's a sellable asset, and Arsenal are in those bracket of clubs that we still do move on key players at times, and we have done that over the years, I see him in the long term maybe being sold for a big fee if that was to come in. It's just part of the game. It happens. Lewis says, Emile Smith-Rowe looked heartbroken when he came off, made a big mistake, which he himself couldn't rectify. Hope he comes back with a purpose. Yeah, he takes kind of those mistakes really hard. When he got that red card that was overturned against Newcastle in the FA Cup, he looked very disheartened as well. He's a young player. and he'll learn from these mistakes, and that's absolutely fine. There are very few players around that have not given away a penalty at some stage in their career, and it's happened now. Kaleidoscope says, Tom, how can you blame Arteta for this game? I think that's harsh. Our players didn't perform. That's why we only came. And to be fair to myself, like, I sit on this channel. How often do I sit here defending Arteta week in, week out, explaining the situation? It is not about blaming Arteta wholly. It is about looking at the game, looking at the areas of where criticism is deserving. And I think that the team selection was a problem today, and that obviously falls on Arteta. So it's fun. It's ironic that I sit here as one of the biggest defenders of Arteta as a content creator from an Arsenal perspective, and yet the one time in which I highlight an area of his game that I think deserved a bit of criticism, I then get criticised for criticising for Arteta. It's just the game. It's the game, how the game works. The game of YouTube. You just can't. Suraj says, disappointing to see Tom not backing Martinelli at Arsenal. Again, that's not what I said. I didn't say that at all. I said, I think that Martinelli will be a success here, but I think he'll be one of those players that the club could look to sell in the future. That's what I said, but it's not saying I don't think he'll be a success. I think he could be sold because he is such a success at the club. I think you may have misinterpreted what I meant. Perk says, I didn't see the game. Was the pen nailed on? Yes, it was. Yannick Max says, we all thought Pepe was rested for this game. Why did he not start? I don't have an answer for you, Yannick. I hope someone asks Arteta in the press conference. Porky Pork says, same team played Leeds. It's mad how we turn up on different occasions. I would have said win against Benfica and draw against Leeds under different circumstances. Has to be tiredness then. Where is the rotation? Matt G says, Tom, why do you hate Martinelli? I can't stand the guy, obviously. I can't stand it. Big Cell says, Arteta has too many favourites. This makes me worry for the longevity of this project. I wouldn't worry about the longevity of the project based upon this thing here. Brooke says, this team is nothing without Thomas Partey. Too many backflow passes. If that were the case, we wouldn't have absolutely smashed Leeds and put 4 past them, because we didn't have him in that game. And we didn't have him against Chelsea either, and we smashed Chelsea. So I don't think Partey is the be-all and end-all, but I do think that he is a massive influence on the team, obviously. Chris B says, I've heard that Szoboszlai has had enough of the Red Bull owners and wants to come to Arsenal because of someone called T. Canton. If that were true, if that were true. We can only dream, Chris. JD says, if Martinelli is to be sold for a big fee, he needs to play consistently. Did you mean for that to rhyme? Not going to happen with Aubameyang, and definitely not if we bring in a new striker. We have to bring in a new striker, JD. Lacazette's got a year left on his deal. Aubameyang's got a year left after the season. Is it a year or maybe it's 2? And he's moving on. It's just the way the process works. We're probably going to lose Balogun. We're probably going to lose Nketiah. We need to bring in a striker. It's just the way it goes, JD. You just can't put all your eggs in the Martinelli basket because it might not work out. Marley Mason says, Karen Carney said Smith Rowe could have been better in the number 10 position as he drives forward more, although Ødegaard made some great passes. Something to think about regarding team selection. I thought Ødegaard was one of our best players today. Smith Rowe, I thought, was excellent against Leeds in a wide position. So it's all about looking at different games individually and analysing them in those different ways. One game he can look great at 10, and then one game he goes out on the wing and it looks great, and then another game he doesn't do great at 10. It's really difficult to analyse different games, and it means it's different. James Rowe says the pitch was slow and had no zip in it and didn't help our passing game today. It did seem a bit slow. I don't know if it was down to the pitch tiredness. I don't know how much it was down to the pitch. It did seem slow because of the amount of water that was on it. We picked up on that right at the beginning of the game, actually. Kian says, Kian, our resident Bellerin fan club, says, thoughts on Hector Bellerin today, Tom? Kian, for your sake, it's probably best I don't answer your question. Honestly, I thought he was very poor. Yannick Mack says, who do we bring in, though? There aren't any realistic options are exciting. Don't say Ivan Toney. I think that there are options out there. Eduard is an interesting one. I think Ivan Toney is, even though you say don't bring him up, as mentioned by a few people I know have watched him a lot this season, is the best player in the Championship right now, as a decent option. But beyond that, and if you're looking at other strikers around, Alexander Isak maybe at Real Sociedad, but again, was ineffective against Manchester United today. Who else is there really out there that isn't off the top? I mean, if you're asking me off the top of my head, there isn't too many. Koita at Red Bull Salzburg, I like a lot. But again, no, don't really see too many that could be an option for Arsenal in the situation that we're in. If Arsenal were vying for the league and in the Champions League, you'd say, yeah, go out and pay Erling Haaland's release clause. But Arsenal are not in the position to do that because that's where we are as a club right now. We're not competing for the top players whatsoever. Thank you, Daniel Robert, for pointing out that Saka's quotes are now out. What has Saka said regarding the game? Let's have a look. Is our friend Chris Wheatley telling us? Let's have a look. Boom, 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 boom. I can't see any Saka quotes. Oh, here we go. There we go. We had a lot of chances, he says. We're frustrated and we felt like we dominated the whole game. They got a lucky penalty, and I thought we could have gone on to win it. The experienced players are helping me a lot. I'm grateful to have a good team around me, a good family around me, and I want to just keep on progressing. Yeah. I think that's really, I mean, you look at what he has done in this team and it's unbelievable. He is setting an example for the experienced players. He's not learning from them. He is setting the pace for the experienced players. And I genuinely believe he is £100 million talent. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I look at the market, the length of contract, the fact he's English, the fact he's smashing it in the Premier League, and the market today as well. I look at him as £100 million talent. And I don't feel like I'm exaggerating that at all right now. Marley says, do you guys have any idea why Balogun isn't on the first team? Because he hasn't signed a new contract. That's the answer to your question. Very, very easy. Big Celt says, Marlon or Nunez? I mean, Nunez didn't look too great today, to be honest. Marlon at PSV, I'm just not quite there with Marlon. I don't know what it is. Just not quite there at the moment. Aaron says Patson Daka at Red Bull Salzburg. I'd rather go for Koita personally at Red Bull Salzburg. Kaleido says, I meant your criticism of Arteta in this game is harsh. What didn't you like about the selection? What would you have changed? I feel bad for Laka. Great channel, by the way. Thank you. My criticism of it is because I just think that we needed a little bit more variety. I thought Benfica is a completely different team to Leeds. Leeds are a lot more open. Benfica set up very defensively, as kind of many expected them to today. And when you've just played a game 4 days ago against Leeds and you've expended a lot of energy and you've rested players like Pepe and Martinelli who are fresh, I just thought maybe with how good Pepe has been recently, that he could have been given a chance in this game. I thought that maybe you might even looked and given Gabriel and Luis a rest and put Holding and Pablo Marin, who also formed a very good, strong partnership over the festive period, which got us those wins. I thought there was options. I thought we could change things. He didn't choose to do that, and maybe we suffered because of it. Maybe it was purely down to tiredness, or maybe it just wasn't Arsenal's day. But I think they're the reasons why, ultimately, I'm not in the best position to say otherwise. I'm going to finish the show off there. I'll be back tomorrow, of course, to be looking at any of the latest Arsenal news, probably reacting to some of the things that Mikel Arteta has said. And of course, being Friday at 5 o'clock, we will have our Let's Talk Arsenal show. Our sponsors, Football Prizes, will be revealing tomorrow at 8:30 on their Facebook page who has won the signed Dennis Bergkamp shirt. I can tell you how many tickets are still left for these signs. There are 3. Wow, there are 3 tickets. I'm going to post the link into the chat right now, and 3 of you who have got a chance to buy a ticket for the Dennis Bergkamp signed shirt with certificate of authenticity and everything, you can get ticket numbers 68, 93 and 95. But wow, there are 3 tickets left. And also in tomorrow's show at 5 o'clock, I will be revealing which one of our members has won the free ticket into the draw. So good luck. Dan Robert, who won the free ticket a couple of weeks ago, actually won the signed Aubameyang photo montage. So it is worth doing, and you can do that by becoming a member, and you can get access to lots of extra stuff, including our Discord server, our wonderful community of people that have been talking all throughout the game, and of course access to some exclusive content, the additional podcast every month with me and John, and lots more fun stuff, including the likes of emojis, which there will be more of in the future, I am assuring you. If you could drop a like on the video, of course, I'd really appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed the content, drop a subscription. And if you haven't already, go listen to my chat with Stefan Schwartz earlier on today. Former Arsenal and Benfica midfielder had his thoughts on the game today and both legs, so it's still worth listening to. And on Swedish football as well. It's a really good chat, and you should definitely go and listen to it. I'll be back tomorrow for Let's Talk Arsenal at 5 p.m. UK time. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.